Hello. Today we're going to talk about how to take main idea statements and turn them into your informative essay. So let's say that your assignment is to write an informative essay about the retirement of the Endeavor. So your prompt is to write an informative paragraph about the retirement of the Space Shuttle Endeavor. And they spelled it with a U for some reason when they named the space shuttle, but just take note if you're in the United States and you're using that word as a task. I have an endeavor to accomplish. Don't put a U in it. That's a British spelling of endeavor, but I don't know why they named their space shuttle with a U. But that's your prompt. Here's your material that you see up here. You see this longer essay here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, it's longer than one paragraph, and all you have to write is one short paragraph. So how do you take the information that you find here? Let's say you Google this and you find this article. You have to write an informative paragraph about the retirement of the Space Shuttle Endeavor. And this is the information that you found online. But you only need to write a paragraph, maybe 4 or 5 sentences. And this is really long. How do you figure out, how do you make it concise? How do you synthesize it? Here's a tip. And this is going back to main ideas. Now, way back when, you probably learned main ideas in elementary school, and that's where you make a statement that describes the entirety of a passage. Now, sometimes people say the main idea is the endeavor. That's not a main idea statement. That's actually more the topic than the main idea. We want to make a sentence. We're going to make a sentence, a main idea statement for each paragraph in this research material, this background material we're reading for our paragraph. So let's read the first paragraph right here. I'll highlight it. On October 13th, 2012, the Space Shuttle Endeavor, one of 4 retired NASA shuttles, began its last mission. This was not a trip into space, however. The shuttle began a 2-day, 12-mile crawl through the streets of Los Angeles, California, where it was put on display at the California Science Center. Needless to say, moving the shuttle through a major city proved daunting. After all, Endeavor measures 122 feet long, 78 feet wide, and 57 feet tall. As one observer said, the move was a once-in-forever moment in history. Now, you might not know what the word daunting is. I mean, you might. I'm not insulting your intelligence, but let's say you don't. Let's pretend you don't if you do. But if you don't, then you don't. And here it is. Here, we're going to look up daunting. You don't want to do anything when you don't know a word. You don't want to move forward if you don't know a word. So the word daunting, seeming difficult to deal with in anticipation, intimidating. So it's something that you anticipate will be hard. So you're not in the midst of it right now. It's not daunting to write a main idea statement. Well, we haven't done it yet. It's not daunting for me to talk on this video. I thought about it being daunting before I did it. So it's not something you're in the middle of. It's something you're going to do. They're anticipating it. Maybe that's important in figuring out the main idea of this first paragraph. Now, there's countless different things you can say are the main idea. Not infinite, but there's, several different things you could say is the main idea. So if you see it and see something a little different, that doesn't mean it's wrong. But we need to somehow synthesize this entire paragraph into a main idea statement. So I look at it, daunting, so they're anticipating it's going to be difficult. It says it's one of the retired NASA shuttles. It's going through the streets of Los Angeles. Are those important? Maybe that's what the whole thing is about. Is the exact size part of the main idea? No, that's a detail. So let's come down here. Let's see if we can say that first paragraph is saying a space shuttle Endeavor. So let's see if we can have my space up here. Yes. The space shuttle Endeavor It's one of 4 retired NASA shuttles. Well, being one of 4 is kind of a detail. That's not the main idea. Um, let's see. It says it began a 2-day crawl through the streets of Los Angeles. So we don't have to say 2-day crawl. That's their words, and we're not copying their words. We can say drove slowly. Oh, can't type today because you're watching me. The Space Shuttle Endeavour drove slowly. It's probably important where, through Los Angeles. Gosh, because you're watching me, I can't type right. Through Los Angeles. And it said, does it say where it's going? Oh, to the Science Center. To the Science Center. Oh, the California Science Center. Does it say when? In October of 2012. We might need the exact date, just because we'll use this we'll use this as a statement in our paragraph, so we probably need the date. Notice how I said in October of 2012? Now that I have the exact numerical date, I'm going to say on that date. So it's in the entire month, but if I have a date, I use the word on. Just a little thing about prepositions there. So there we go. There's our first paragraph's main idea statement. Let's see what the next one is. Endeavour began, so now we're reading this paragraph here. Endeavour began this final voyage in Cape Canaveral, Florida, strapped to the back of a special, I can't read. It's because you guys are, I'm recording this. When I talk to students, I can talk without stuttering. But here we go. Endeavour began this final voyage in Cape Canaveral, Florida, strapped to the back of a specially adapted Boeing 747 airplane. It was flown across the country to Edwards Air Force Base in California. On a celebratory flight around its new home state, Endeavour circled over the Capitol in Sacramento. Then it flew over NASA's Research Center in San Jose and the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena. After soaring past the famous Hollywood sign, Endeavour landed at the Los Angeles International Airport. But that was the easy part of the mission. The real challenge had only just begun. So what's important about this paragraph? Probably that it didn't fly directly. That seems to be something they give us a lot of details about. Now, we're making a main idea statement, so we don't need all the details. We don't need to mention San Jose or the Hollywood sign, but specifically, because we're making a main idea statement. You might put it in when you do your informative paragraph, but now we're just making a main idea statement. And so the statement is, think about it. It flew from Florida to California, the airport in California, and it made passes over important sites. Does that sound like what the main idea was? If we think about it. So we can say the Endeavour flew from Florida. Well, maybe we need, I'm going to cut and paste it so I don't have to type out Cape Canaveral, Florida. We probably need the exact place. From Cape Canaveral, Florida to LAX, the LA airport. And on its way, it flew over significant, you can say that, sites. Significant sites. It says on a celebratory flight around the new home state, it circled over, let's say it's circled. It means it's showing circled over significant sites. Okay, there we go. That's our second paragraph. Let's do the next one. In all, it took over 100 people to usher the shuttle through the streets of Los Angeles. Many engineers and technicians worked around the clock. Street signs and power lines were taken down to create a path. Huge steel plates were placed atop streets along the route. It can be pronounced either way, route or route. Route is more West Coast. Route is more kind of middle of the country. And since I'm on the West Coast, I'm going to say route, but you can call it route or route. We're talking about this word here, route. But it's not wrong to say route. I mean, it's like wrong to mispronounce. It's not a mispronunciation. I'm just letting you know. If you hear somebody say route, it's not a mispronunciation. It's regional. If you say route, it's not a mispronunciation. It's regional. I mean, you know, it's different. Like if you called these pippies instead of pipes, that's mispronunciation. That's wrong. It's not wrong if you say route or route. Let me keep going. This was to protect water and sewer pipes below the asphalt from being broken under Endeavor's weight. A custom-made 80-wheel vehicle towed Endeavor across freeways and paraded the shuttle through neighborhoods. Several police officers were needed to redirect traffic as the shuttle passed. Dozens of photographers and filmmakers were on hand to capture every minute. Yes. So what can we say about that? It gave a lot of details. It really was a paragraph of details. How do we synthesize that into a main idea statement? Let's take a look. So they had to make accommodations on the streets to get it through. 100 people had to be like walking around it and a little ahead of it and, you know, making sure it goes. Technicians worked around the clock. What can we say is important? Well, it was a lot of trouble to drive this thing through. And they used the word paraded. So it must have been paraded through neighborhoods. So let's go back to thinking like our first sentence there, our first main idea statement. The Space Shuttle Endeavour drove slowly through LA to the museum on October 13th, 2012. Then it said it flew to Cape Canaveral, kind of went backwards there because it was doing an introductory paragraph. So let's go back to that idea. As the Endeavour drove through the streets of Los Angeles, it took many people to make this possible. In order for the what do we call it, a rocket ship? No, it's a space shuttle. In order for the heavy space shuttle to accommodate the heavy space shuttle, it took many people to make this possible. Whoops, I did to make twice. Because it had to be accommodated, because the large and heavy space shuttle needed accommodations. Now, as I say, that's not the only way you could write this sentence. We're just putting this together here. We might punch it up a little when we go back. But now let's get to the next paragraph. This historic move, which cost approximately $10 million to complete, also became a huge social event. Over 1.5 million people lined the streets as Endeavour inched along. People set up tents and sold hot dogs, baked goods, and Endeavour t-shirts. The crowds clapped and cheered as the shuttle moved into view. The shuttle's top speed along the trip was just 2 miles per hour, giving crowds ample time to watch. It also made frequent stops along the way. Finally, it reached the California Science Center. And we're going to write it out as California Science Center instead of CSC. There we go. If you buy something there, that's what it shows up on your credit card, CSC. But I don't think people call it the CSC. Okay. So we can say for this, they're saying it was a big event. A lot of people went to see it. It stopped and they were selling hot dogs and t-shirts. So we could say the drive from the airport to the California Science Center was like a parade with people celebrating along the way. And now let's read the final paragraph here. Endeavour is now part of a permanent exhibit. Every day, people come to see the shuttle that flew so many daring missions into space. A special part of that exhibit is also dedicated to the amazing journey the retired shuttle made across the country and through Los Angeles to its new home. Well, really, the main idea of that is it's permanently at the museum. So we could just say something like the Endeavour. Oh, it's got a U in it. Ah. Um, is now permanently displayed at the, after at the California Science Center, because there's only one. It's not we're not skipping the article because it's the California Science Center. There's only one. The Endeavour is now permanently displayed at the California Science Center, where many people, what did it say? Everyday people, it just says people, but let's say many people come to see it. Now, it's up to you. Do you think it's important that they also have part of the exhibit being dedicated to the journey? We could add that. The Endeavour is now permanently displayed at the California Science Center, along with, we use display, along with part of the exhibit, let's type here, being dedicated to its retirement journey. You want to call it that? Okay. Now, we have here 4 main idea statements. Here, we'll put this back up. You can look at the picture while we're talking about it. We can take these 4 main idea statements and make them into our informative paragraph. So you took the time while you were reading the source material, the research material you found in order to answer your prompt and write an informative paragraph. You took the time to make a main idea statement out of each paragraph. That time is not wasted because now, look, you pretty much have your whole paragraph. Now, they did an introductory paragraph that told what this is going to be about. We might turn that into a sentence. Let's just read the 4 of them together. The Space Shuttle Endeavour drove slowly through LA to the California Science Center October 13th, 2012. The Endeavour flew from Cape Canaveral, Florida to LAX on its way. Do we want a comma there? You know, there's a lot of commas that are optional and they go with speech patterns. So if you're using one of these grammar correcting things, you're going to be putting your commas in places for the AI's speech pattern. So if you feel like a comma belongs somewhere, put it there because, you know, Grammarly and those other AI things don't talk like a human. So this one has to be there, though this comma here has to be there because we're setting off Florida. But if I wanted to put a comma here, because in my speech pattern, I would pause. Commas are for pauses. If I would normally pause in my speech pattern, then I should put a comma there because many commas are optional. So anyhow, just my little, I'm an English teacher. I have to keep talking about everything, not just how to answer this prompt. But back to answering this prompt, I was reading this, putting all 4 together. The first one, I'm going to do it again because I digressed. The Space Shuttle Endeavour drove slowly through LA to the California Science Center on October 13th, 2012. The Endeavour flew from Cape Canaveral, Florida to LAX. On its way, it circled over significant sites. As the Endeavour drove through the streets of LA, it took many people to make this possible. Stick that in out there. Possible because the large and heavy space shuttle needed accommodations. The drive from LAX to California Space Center was like a parade with people celebrating along the way. The Endeavour is now permanently displayed in the California Science Center along with part of the exhibit being dedicated to its retirement journey, where many people come to see it. Well, okay, let's put the where many people come to see it. Is now permanently displayed at the California Science Center, where many people come to see it. That just sounds awkward too. Along with part of the exhibit. The Endeavour is now permanently displayed in the California Science Center, along with part of the exhibit being dedicated to its retirement journey. Let's put the people at the beginning. let's just start with many people each year come to visit the Endeavor where it is now permanently displayed. Okay, had to fix that sentence there. Now that's a good sentence, and we could do something with it. It's a good concluding sentence. So this is not our paragraph yet. We have to cobble things together. But now you have all the tools, or what would you say? You have the raw ingredients of an informative paragraph because you took the time to do main idea statements from each paragraph in your resource material or your research. So let's look at this. Let's finish it. Let's make it into an informative paragraph. Well, this isn't going to do at the beginning. It says informative paragraph about the retirement of the Space Shuttle Endeavor. Let's actually use that as part of our topic's introductory sentence for this paragraph. Retirement of the Space Shuttle Endeavor. We can just make the statement, the retirement of the Space Shuttle Endeavor was, oh, what did they say in here? Let's look back over here. What did this person say? They said it was a once in a lifetime, once and forever moment. Now it's quoted. We're going to quote it. The retirement of the Space Shuttle Endeavor was a once in forever moment in history, according to an observer quoted in, and this was actually test material. This is let's just take that. Now we just have a reference. Your teacher or whoever you're doing this for may not have asked for a reference, but it's always good to put those in. It makes you look very smart. Okay. The retirement of the Space Shuttle Endeavor was a once and forever moment in history, according to observer quoted in the Standardized Testing and Reporting SAR 2012. Now let's say that it flew. That's probably a good thing to put first. I mean, they put it in a different order because that was their hook. But let's put this next. The retirement of the Space Shuttle Endeavor was a once and forever moment in history, according to an observer quoted in the Standardized Testing Reporting STAR 2018. Let's say that that's both our topic and our hook. We know what it's about now. We can put this next. The Endeavor flew from Cape Canaveral, Florida to LAX. On its way, it circled significant sites. Maybe we should say Los Angeles Airport. Maybe everybody doesn't know what LAX is. Los Angeles Airport. And there's only one, right? There's only one Los Angeles Airport, so we've got to put the in front of it. Okay. And then we have the space shuttle drove slowly through LA. So, you know, this is good. Let's just put this one next. The Space Shuttle Endeavor drove slowly through LA. And again, maybe, did you know that LA was the state abbreviation for Louisiana? So just in case someone might mix up that for some reason. So we're going to say Los Angeles. The Space Shuttle Endeavor drove slowly through Los Angeles to the California Science Center on October 13th, 2012. And then this just goes pretty much right next to it. As the Endeavor drove through the streets of LA, we're going to call it again, we'll say Los Angeles. I don't think anybody really would think that's Louisiana, especially when it went to the LA airport. But it's always better to be more precise. It took many people to make this possible. Oh, let's read that again. As the Endeavor drove through the streets of Los Angeles, it took many people to make this possible because of the large, now see, does that sound backwards? This sentence sounds backwards. As the Endeavor drove through the streets of Los Angeles, it took many people to make it possible because the large and heavy space shuttle needed accommodations. Not grammatically incorrect, would be fine if you left it that way, but I think I am going to say, I'm going to start with it took many people. It took many people to make this possible. To make, let's put it here instead of this. This is a pronoun, so we can make it replace this. Okay, it took many people to make Endeavour's drive through the streets of Los Angeles possible because the large and heavy space shuttle needed accommodations. Yeah, I like it better reversed that way. Not wrong if you didn't, any how that you write, as long as it's grammatically correct, is not a problem. Um, yeah, and then let's just go with this one right afterwards. The drive from LAX to California Science Center was like a parade with people celebrating along the way. And then, oh, they're not eating it. I mean, there's probably something to eat at the Science Center, but here we go. Many people each year come to visit the Endeavor, where it is now permanently displayed at the California Science Center, along with part of the exhibit being dedicated to its retirement journey. And there you go. That's it. You have it. How long did that take us? So I've had whiny students say, well, it takes too long to go make a main idea out of each paragraph. Yeah, but then look, I made a main idea out of each paragraph, and voila, I have my entire informative paragraph done in, however long it took us to do this. It's much shorter than sitting there reading it and then picking back and forth. So this is why in elementary school you learned main idea statements, and this is how to apply them in real life later when you have to write these kind of informative essays.